Please welcome back your host, Dave X.
Thank you. Wonderful to be here. I am Dave X, the AI-powered Master of Ceremonies, and I've been trained on a large language model that includes Cybercrime Magazine and databreach.com, and I got to tell you, I'm pretty scared. Every day there's headlines there that will make you quite nervous. But as they say, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. So let's talk about security. That's the topic we have here today. And we have with us the founder and CEO of SecurityHQ. Let's have a nice warm round of applause for Fraz. Thank you for being
David.
here.
Thank you very much.
It's all you.
Right, good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about a big problem we have within the cybersecurity community. It's actually going to be an issue that we don't really talk about. It kind of gets ignored. And I really wanted to address this issue. Generally in security, whether you were doing this 1,000 years ago, it fell down to two main things. You wanted to detect and you wanted to respond. In today's talk, I'm going to be talking about the latter, about response, not about detection. Because we spend too much time talking about all the different tools you get out there, to actually detect. So, I want you to imagine that you're in charge of your own incident response team, okay? You have so many tools, right? You got data sources, different stakeholders, different officers, okay? You've got to have the capability to ensure that you can address these alarms, the hackers, the alerts, the violations in a timely manner. You've also got to worry about compliance. So you've got a huge challenge on your hands, right? We all know how complicated this can be. The actual volume of data that we're dealing with is a significant issue. The complexity of the cyber threats that we deal with is significant, okay? And we've got so many different factors to think about, right? Of the skill set within your team, the 24/7, as I mentioned, compliance. Everything's changing all the time. So if you're an incident responder or you're running an incident response team, life is hard. Okay, so what I've got here is a slide, and what I call it is the anatomy of a breach cycle, okay? One, okay. What I want you to take away from this, it still takes too long for organizations to consistently identify threats, breaches, anomalies, and violations. It takes too long. All of the things that security centers do, security operations centers do, and I've been in the business of SOCs for many, many years, okay? They're actually getting it wrong. We know we've been getting it wrong for quite a while. Oh, don't worry, I'm going to show you how we're trying to fix things as well, okay? Containment is too slow, all right? It's not instantaneous. To make the situation safe, to grab a user, to close that user down, there's not enough machine learning, there's limited automation. Managing it just takes too long. You have, and it shows you on this, and this is real data, yeah? We see many instances where we have a threat actor, an adversary in your network for 6 weeks, sometimes 6 months. The concept of they just go in, grab, slap, smash and grab and go is actually rare. It does happen, but it's quite rare. Adversaries will sit quietly in your network for 6 weeks. Because you're waiting for the plane crash or the train crash or whatever you want to call it to then respond. So they're sitting there, okay? And it just, as I keep saying, I'm going to say this a long time, when you look at this slide here, you're saying from discovery in July, 6 weeks, containment can take 2 to 3 days. You know, anybody in IT can know what a skilled hacker adversary can do in 2 or 3 days. It can absolutely destroy your environment, okay? Then announcement, then remediation, 6 months if you're lucky. Now remediation, remember, we go from detection to containment to remediation. Remediation means that you've removed everything, all the threats, you've upgraded everything, you've gone through policy, you've told legal, you've done all your compliance. That's sometimes 6 months. And actually for class action lawsuits, forget about it. Forget about it. Very, very, very few customers go down that road, unless it's internal. Okay, so what is the problem? Problem number one, alert fatigue, okay? With so much data available, it creates too much noise, okay? There's a strong lack of prioritization, what's important, what to do next. They just don't know. The SOCers have got too much information. Because they're humans, right, they become fatigued. Because humans can't work 24/7. There's shift changeovers, there's different teams coming in and out. It's a significant thing. Things get lost, we can't see the wood for the trees. Second issue, overwhelming data. We want to see the complete environment, but it creates a problem in itself, right? Because there's, again, too much data. We need to put through the event pipeline, system struggles, user struggles, the ability to prioritize actually jeopardizes what you're trying to do. 3, manual investigations. When an alert triggers, even with SOAR platforms, right, it comes down to the analysts making the decisions, right? It's based on manual investigations, correlations, threats. We need to build up a timeline. It's not dependable. It takes too much time to respond, okay? Manual and slow containment, okay? The reachability into the environment to isolate something, to suspend user accounts, and other multiple layers of dependencies, right? You may need to go to a network user team, okay? That reach needs to be orchestrated a lot more, okay, in an automated way. So containment happens simultaneously, okay? And I'm going to touch on that a little bit later, okay? Often it's complicated because you've got third parties. You've got managed service providers. You might not even have access to your firewalls or your endpoints environments, even though you've seen 2 hours ago all the alarms going up, but you don't actually have access to your firewalls. So you have to go to your third-party environment, then you have to arrange, you explain that, what's going on, then go through the process of arranging an emergency change request. Time. Okay? And we see this all the time, okay? So it takes too long for detection and containment. Slow mean time to detect, right? We are reactive, not consistent. We have good days, we have bad days. It's backward looking, and it's not proactive. That's because how SOCs were built. We were built to be an ambulance paramedic, right? That's how we were built originally when this industry started. We're supposed to rush there, find it, stabilize the patient, put them in the back, and get them to somebody who's going to treat it and remediate it. It's fundamentally how SOCs were built. But the problem is that used to work, and it worked very well for many, many years. But there's too much data now. So you're getting to an ambulance, you're kind of getting to a car crash, and there's just multiple bodies. There's multiple incidences, there's multiple things, and you're trying to prioritize what goes on. So reactive, it's not consistent. Okay. So when we're looking at the ideal situation in terms of reducing alert fatigue and data volume and consistent issues, right? Okay? It comes down to the data pipeline. So let's start with the events. Okay? We all know logging. Your machines, we all get it from the firewalls. Whatever your tooling is, it generates events that generates logs that we correlate, read, get alarms. Standard, anybody who's worked in a SIM environment understands that. And that needs to be done in real time, and it comes in the billions, okay? Then it goes to alert correlation. We make sure that we have all the use cases in place. We make sure that we have all the alert correlation, the filtering, getting out all of the nonsense. You've got to get it all out, so you're trying to get to the rich, good alerts, okay? Then we get to the alert qualification. Okay, we need a degree of automation at this point, okay? So what we want is visibility. As an example, if we have a violation of an incident, okay, and we want to automate the enrichment of that ticket with all the events related in that incident in the last 4 hours. This is the dream scenario, right? Okay, so that means I want, as an analyst, to see in the last 4 hours, I want to see what the user has done, what changes have been made, what executions have been running, okay? What hosts, what network activity. We need to build the storyline. And I want to see it instantly, okay? That's the alert qualification. Then we're going to get into the incidents, the final incident. So as your funnel's coming down, you're going from billions to thousands to hundreds to tens. Again, has to happen instantly. So that's when you get the triggering. So let's go over to the other side, the priority matrix. Okay. If we decide it's critical or minor against impact, okay? So here, we're doing the matrix against urgency, impact. Impact is obviously, right? Okay. So we have the ones that everybody likes to talk about, the P1s and the P2s. Those are your critical, your major. That's the highly sensitive impact issues. It's going to have the most impact on your network should there be a breach, okay? We need to automate those and get an ML procedure, what we call the major incident procedure going on. We need to kick off escalation calls, escalation call trees. We all know we go through the process now. That's when you're in a P1, P2 state, okay? We've got to invoke at that point containment, playbooks. We need to isolate the user, the machine, block the IPs, whatever it is. It needs to happen immediately. P3s, minors, again, these get overlooked, but you should not overlook these, right? They are routine alerts. They need to be dealt with in a clear, something like a phishing event, right? We need to reset passwords, isolate users, whatever it is. That's still only a P3, ransomware. It needs to be dealt with. We again, automate the hell out of it, okay? And there's no reason why you cannot automate these. Do not let anybody tell you that. If you work at it, you have the right playbook, you know you're triggering, automate it, okay? P4, informational ones, okay? These are not major, they're not minor, but they are risks. And I'm going to touch on that as well. And they need to be dealt with as a risk. You need to deal with routine cases you see, when you see in these tickets. You don't want them to bombard the analyst, and because that goes back to the fatigue question. All right? We need to tune these out. Automate the false positives as it, significantly contribute to the alert fatigue. Okay, so how do we achieve this, right? Alert correlation needs to be powered by behavior. Okay? Machine learning, cut down the noise, fight the fatigue. Playbooks needs to be laser focused. Clear incident visualization. Human analysts will always be required. They've got to be part of that story as well and understand where the problem is. And don't forget, guys, right? Remember, another thing that people don't talk about in cybersecurity, right, is majority of the reasons why people get into your network is due to misconfigurations. It's still the number one cause. And none of these tools they sell you can help you with that. But if you're monitoring your minor and your informational, you can start to hunt that down. It can really help you. The issue I see, people ignore them because it's just too much of it. It's like, oh, I'll just ignore it. That's always making a noise. But actually the root cause is your IPS is not configured right, whatever it is. It could be anything. But that's the door they get in. Okay? It's always through a misconfiguration. So as I say here, we automate event enrichment, build a storyline, playbooks, laser-focused playbooks. If your playbook is not triggering, it's not a playbook. Okay? It needs to trigger. Don't count the number of playbooks, count the number of usable playbooks. Okay. 95% of SOC incidences are minor SecOps problems and policy. 95% of the alarms in a SOC are minor, okay? Like I was saying, minor incidences are systematic of control problems, okay? Treat the cause, not the symptom. Get to the root cause, because you're trying to get back to that enrichment of that funnel, making sure you're getting the right alarms at the right time. Okay, so at SecurityHQ, we've recognized this as a problem some time ago. Not because we just woke up one morning and we decided, oh, this is a problem in the cyber world, let's go out and address it. Because as an operator of 6 SOCs around the world, we were dealing with this issue, and we were getting this feedback from our engineers, our analysts. Okay, so we decided to change the game, and we believe what I'm going to show you now, only just released, is how we think is changing the game. And it's called SecurityHQ Response. SHQ Response is what we call it, okay? And this is where it comes into play. It's what we call risk center, okay? We identify the problems. Much of the noise is just risk. So instead of looking at it as like traditional alarms, we just go, okay, it's just a risk. So we need to score those risks, okay? Our objective, though, is to group these alerts, assign clear mitigation, track through the issues to closure, improve the overall security posture, okay? Which means we use our resources better. We use the right analyst working at the right time on the right thing, instead of using expensive, skilled resources, 2 days chasing down a ticket that turns out to be a false positive, okay? We're trying to do it that way. We had to change it. And it actually ends up generating less incidences. Because the problem, okay, is that we're suffering from major incident decision paralysis. Big words, yeah? But it's actually a real thing. We see it all the time. We see it in other incident response teams. Too much data, all at the same time. What happens is they freeze. Anybody would. Because he or she is worried that the next decision that they make is irreversible. Shut down a user, bring down a DB, pull the network down. These are huge decisions that need to be made on the fly. So you get this paralysis, right? So what I call the SOC union, okay, and there's no such thing as a SOC union, thankfully, but basically, what is the list of their demands? 1, simplified data visualized. 2, decision-making orchestrated. 3, enrich automation. And 4, most importantly, contain and eradicate anything everywhere. Contain and eradicate everything and anywhere. That is what the SOC wants. There are many risk management platforms out there, right? But none of them are built on cyber. They're all built on compliance or whatever. None of them are built on cyber. Now, with SHQ Response, right, we've taken a threat-led approach, okay? Who is the adversary? Coupled with known vulnerabilities in your environment, okay? It needs to be mapped to your specific assets and your groups. We use the CIA, okay? Confidentiality, integrity, availability. All security guys know that. Clear assignment with who needs to work on what problem. Targeted date for resolution. Not just some open ticket, a targeted date for resolution. The platform is built on NIST 830. The risk scoring is built on the NIST framework. And when it comes down to incident response, the MITRE ATT&CK framework is baked in. It's baked in. So we're looking for clear, immediate visualization, clear timelines, what events are interesting to us. In seconds, it's got to be fully enriched. The analyst needs to be assigned to multiple people because you're working as a team. You might have network, you might have firewall teams. You've got to be able to assign that through the platform, okay? Clarity has to be super important, and it needs to be served up in seconds. To contain and eradicate everywhere, right? SOAR is a big part of it. And we've been using SOAR for many, many years. It's a huge thing. It's our step into full AI, into full automation, right? Okay, it's a big part of it. And we've got to integrate the firewalls, your endpoints, your Active Directory. It doesn't actually matter what it is. We integrate it in through our SOAR platform. But without the friction of IT administrators. Because now you're going to automate it all the way through to the process. You don't need to check. It just happens. It just happens. That's how you got to build it. So when we look at a traditional SOC, okay, we have prepare, there's no threat modeling, there's a lack of playbooks. To detect, there's single event detection, false positives. Analysis is manual investigation, containment. We have the decision paralysis I was speaking about, hands-on tool containment. recovery, no incident trending. So we just mitigate it, we close it, we just forget about it, and we pray it never happens again. No trending, no learning, no lessons learned. That's how it happens. On an AI human-centric SOC, to take it to the next level, right? You've got to get into anticipation. ML-driven data analytics, threat-centric risk analysis, end-to-end playbooks, threat modeling, detect multi-vector correlation, ML anomaly correlation, automated analysis, containment automation, and ML trending. That's where you need to get to. SecurityHQ, we learned this the hard way, and we're still learning. I'm not here to tell anybody, wow, we've got it sussed. We haven't. We haven't. But we have 6 SOCs around the world, and we're dealing with this all the time. Everybody wants to talk about detection. This new tool. Have you heard of this? Have you tried this? This new endpoint. Have you got this? We have customers in every sector, in every continent. Hybrid cloud, on-prem, legacy, I've got XP, you name it, they're all in a different where they're going to go. But for us as a business, right, I look at it like my analysts, they're like pilots in an aircraft. But there's only 2 seats. They've got 300 people behind them. Now, if you go into an old, like an old 747 or an old Boeing, an old Airbus, there used to be an engineer with 1,000 dials. That's like a SOC. 1,000 dials all giving different information. And the engineer at the back had to filter that information, human, whether he got it right, whether the wind speed was right, whether in the right place, whether so many different variables. We need to learn from Airbus and Boeing, where we have a single screen, manual joystick, clear playbooks, clear visualization, full weather, full predictability, full number of toilet flushes in the aircraft, number of who ordered the ham sandwich, whatever. Everything is there, available instantaneously to that analyst who's paid a significant amount of money to do their job, but we must give them the tools to do their job. But also, we must give them the tools and help them by actually, you don't need to contain and eradicate. It's going to be automated. So we can mitigate the risk, and then we can move on to the response stage. And we can tune and learn and get better, tune and learn as we get better. SHQ Response, our application that we built for our clients, is there to do that. But we decided as a company, we were like, well, we can't decide what the risk is. We need to bake in the NIST, and so then, because my risk score, depending on what I perceive as impact, is different to maybe one of your guys, right? So we had to get a framework that we felt, we went with NIST, but then we went, okay, we need to take it to the next step. There's no point saying, oh, I have now identified this as a big issue. Okay, well, how do I then link that to behavior on the MITRE ATT&CK framework, the vulnerabilities that we're seeing? How do I be able to then use that as a project tool to actually go and identify different stakeholders and timeline it and have all the reports that if somebody was to come in on the next shift, the next week, they can see it all trended and gone through. And that's what SHQ Response is there to do. It's not just, it's a risk platform, but it's a risk platform for security engineers. And we don't even sell it. It's just used by our customers. But this, we believe, and I believe, is a game changer of how we do it, because we cannot keep going with more and more information. Thank you very much. That's me done.